Jean Price, isn't it?
Yes.
Tony called the Echo.
Oh, yes.
I've been appointed lobby correspondent for my paper, Mrs. Price, and I'm just going around making some contacts.
Oh, yes. Well, good luck. Nice to have met you.
Do you have a moment right now?
I do, but I already have plans for it.
No, it won't take a second. It's just that I understand, Mrs. Price, that you are somewhat against the lobby journalist system. Is that so?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it is.
Oh, it's interesting, because I'm writing an article at the moment about MPs who... Sorry, what's that?
A tape recorder.
A tape recorder?
Yes, I've been interviewed before.
Oh, right. So, you are no great admirer of the lobby system?
No, I prefer direct and open government with full accountability. I think if someone wants to make a statement, they should put their name to it or they shouldn't make it at all.
Actually, I agree with you completely there, Mrs. Price.
Oh, why?
Well, I think ministers and MPs, they abuse the lobby system, don't they? They exploit journalists and use us to fly kites. And then when things don't go their way, they deny everything and the journalists are left there with egg on their faces.
Maybe, but journalists sometimes do actually get their facts wrong, Trevor.
Tony.
Tony, yes, that's what I meant.
So if I quote you as being opposed to the lobby system as it stands, that'll be all right, will it?
Yeah, I have no objection to that. Though, when you say quote, what do you mean precisely?
Well, something like Jean Price, prominent backbench Labour MP, said today, that kind of thing.
Yes, it's just I do like to protect my family from, well, you know, you get so many funny letters.
Well, prominent backbench socialist woman MP.
Yes, it's just, woman. I don't see why you should categorise someone's views according to their sex.
No, fair enough. Let's try prominent backbench Labour MP spokesman person.
Well, hardly prominent.
Well, backbench Labour MP then?
Yes, that's fine. Or even the briefer the better. Sources, even.
Sources?
Yes, if you like.
Oh, I see. So I can say that sources in Parliament today agreed that the lobby system of expressing views without accepting accountability for them was being abused.
Yes, I think that sounds fine, don't you?
Thank you very much for your time, Mrs. Price.
Not at all.
Don't forget to turn off your tape recorder.
Oh, no, thank you. I really must get a tape for it. Bye. Maybe I shouldn't have fobbed him off, Norman. He may have been all right. I mean, he seemed nice enough.
Oh, but they all do, Jean. It's part of their job, seeming nice. No, sleazeballs they are, journalists. And facts are like bananas to that lot. They never get a straight one.
No, that's why I was wary, having had dealings with them before. I mean, they pry into your private life.
And if you haven't got one, they make one up for you.
Still, I suppose they're necessary evil. There is the matter of the public interest.
Oh, matters of public prurience, more like. No, I'm afraid it's lies that sell newspapers, Jean. And that's where we've been going wrong, you see. We don't have the right caliber of liar in the party.
Oh, I don't know. We've got you, Norman.
But all politicians are liars to an extent, or we'd never get elected. It's not that we can't tell the occasional porky if it's necessary. It's just the way we tell them nobody believes us. It's technique I'm talking about.
I don't know about lying as a matter of deliberate policy.
Whereas the other side, I mean, they stand up and tell a pack of lies. Well, you know it's lies. You can see it's lies. But the way they say it, somehow you just have to believe them. Quality liars, that's what they are.
Is this something to be proud of?
No, not necessarily, but I mean, you've got to admire professionalism when you see it. You get a Tory minister lying his head off at the dispatch box, you can't beat a good job well done. That's why I think we should brush up on our lying, I think. That's why I've organised this little seminar. Can I put your name down for it?
What seminar? To brush up on my lying?
No. Just public relations.
There's a difference?
Well, I prefer to think of it as getting the policies across myself. Well, now, if you'll excuse me, I got a press briefing. We're launching a new initiative.
Oh, are we? And what does that consist of?
Well, mostly the old initiative, but with a change of pants. But I've got to be there. I've got to give them the facts.
And what are the facts, Norman?
I don't know. I haven't made them up yet, but plausible, Dean. Plausible.
It seems to me, Freddie, it's simply a matter of getting the message across, and this is what we're singly failing to do, to get the message across in the media.
Yes. Don't have any Pims here, do you? Ah, yes. So, what is the message, exactly?
Well, let's see now. There's been a bit of a recession, we can't deny that. Few people unemployed, and no use pretending otherwise. And, of course, the poll tax was an absolute shambles. We have to concede that. In fact, to be honest, Freddie, the simple truth of the matter is...
That we've cocked it all up.
Yes, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. But the point you make, surely, is how much worse things would have been under Labour. Now, that's the point we want to get over.
Yes, I see. So you mean some sort of slogan like, vote Conservative and be sure of a decent cock-up?
Perhaps not quite that, exactly, but we certainly implied that had Labour been in power, the country would by now be on its knees.
Oh, but I thought you just said that it was. Anyway, how are we to accomplish all this, Richard? A smear campaign, is it?
No, something more surgical than that, I think.
Oh, surgical smear campaign. Mind, you have to be pretty careful, you know, with these journalists. I mean, you see this interview I gave here.
You, Freddie, somebody wanted to interview you? Couldn't have been much happening that weekend.
No, there wasn't. just the local rag, but you can see how they got everything completely wrong. I mean, look what they've done to my name. They forgot my hyphens.
Oh, that is very serious, Freddie, yes. I should take that up with the Press Complaints Commission if I were you. Oh, is that for me? Thank you very much indeed.
Are you going along, Ken?
So what's that?
This public relations seminar Nolan's organising on the best way to deal with the press.
No, I already know how to hold up two fingers, thank you very much. Power without responsibility, that's the press. And the broadsheets are just as bad as the tabloids. I mean, quality press? Says who?
This about you?
Yeah, or somebody else operating under the same name.
Ken Miller, the Welsh MP.
Well, at least they're Celts.
It was revealed today has long-standing links with the IRA.
I know.
Well, where did they get that from?
Well, they got it from my entry in Who's Who. See, I'm down as secretary of the IFA, and this is obviously a misprint.
So what's the IFA?
International Fly Fishing Association.
Fly fishing?
Yeah, it's not the first time either. Oh, I've been on to them. They say they'll print an apology. They say.
You're taking all this remarkably calmly.
Yeah, what's keeping me calm, Jean, is thinking of all the flies I'll be able to buy with my out-of-court settlement.
So you're not coming to this public relations seminar? Sure you can't be persuaded?
No, thank you, not for me.
I'll see you then.
Okay, and remember, Jean, public relations is a decent and honourable profession, run by high-minded people of great integrity. It says here.
Oh, Jean, so what do you think of the seminar? You feel you've got anything out of it on how to handle the press?
I may have done, Norman, though on the other hand, it's never that clear-cut, is it?
No, you got the gist of the message, though, on the tactics of evasion and ambiguity.
Yes, I think so, yes. Though, then again, I wouldn't really want to commit myself.
You understood how to avoid giving a straight answer to a straight question.
Yes, and no.
And the technique of turning the question back on the interviewer, because that's quite a tricky one, don't you think?
Is it? Why do you ask?
No, easy. But you've got about feigning anger and blustering when you're on the spot.
Now, look, Norman, I really don't see why I should be subjected to this persistent questioning when I've given up my own time to come here.
No, fair enough. But you noted, did you, about delaying tactics? I mean, how to buy yourself time to think when you haven't got a ready answer.
Yes, now, I'm glad you asked me that, Norman, but I'm sorry. Would you repeat that question?
Oh, that just about covers it, really. You won't forget, though, will you, about totally ignoring the question you've been asked and answering the one you wanted to be asked instead?
Yes, I would like a cup of tea, Norman. Thank you very much.
Game, set, and interview, then.
So I think the question we have to ask ourselves, Nigel... Tony, is how much worse things would have been with another driver at the wheel. Well, I think I could make a very nice little article for someone.
Can I quote you on that, Mr. Monkton?
Quit who, sorry?
You, Mr. Monkton.
Me, on what?
Well, what we've just been discussing.
Sorry, were we discussing something?
Yes, you were just saying how much worse things would have been had a different finger been on the trigger.
Oh, yes. Well, what I think you can safely quote me on as saying is that capitalism is a good thing, socialism is a bad thing, and the party is on course for success.
Capitalism is a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing for some.
Hardly real news, is it, though, Mr. Monkton?
I'm sorry, but if it's real news you want, I'm not putting my name to something like that. I do have my career to consider, after all.
Well, if you don't want to discuss anything for the moment, Mr. Monkton...
No, I don't think so. No, not really. Well, unless, of course, for human interest, your readers might like to know that my son has got very good marks at school, my daughter's doing well in her music, and my wife and I are extremely happy together. I've got a photograph of the family here, if you care to publish it.
Well, as you brought up the subject of your marriage, Mr. Monkton, would you care to comment at all on allegations made by your former secretary at the maternity hospital?
I'm sorry, I never discuss my private life. Excuse me. I don't know what you thought of him, Jean, this new chap, this latest recruit to the lunchtime booze club.
Well, I was a bit wary to start with. I don't know. He seems all right.
Oh, no, don't be fooled, Jean. Best not to drop your guard. They're all smudged with the same biro, journalists. They just want to get their hands on your dirty laundry. And let's face it, we've all got some. It's unavoidable. Into each life, a little muck must fall.
Yeah, but some lives need more soap powder than others.
Well, I don't see that an MP's private life has any bearing on his public affairs, a business.
Well, there's a certain legitimate interest. I mean, people might want to know if it's a case of do as I say rather than do as I do.
Yes, but you don't expect a vet to swallow his own worming tablets, so why should you expect a politician to follow his own advice?
Because I don't think the electorate regard themselves as our patients. They feel that if anyone's sick, it's us.
Oh, why can't you say one thing and do another? And for heaven's sake, if you didn't say one thing and do another, you couldn't bring your children up, let alone run a government. And you know this chap was even intruding into my private life, asking me questions about my son's exam results.
Oh, well, that is a bit much, I agree.
I mean, I always try to protect my family from unwarranted publicity.
Yes, I saw the feature in Hello. But the public does have a right to be kept informed. I mean, that's open government.
Yes? But if adultery, petty crime, lies and hypocrisy don't make you unfit to vote, why should they make you unfit to govern? No, it's a bit of community service, that's what they need. Empty a few bedpans, that'll teach them the value of things.
Teach who the value of things, Richard?
Well, you know, journalists, students, yobs like that. Yes, and the unemployed. In fact, anyone not doing a useful job, I put on compulsory voluntary community service.
Oh, I see. And what about MPs?
Us? No, we're doing it already.
You've seen the opinion polls then, have you, Jean?
No, I stick to tea leaves, Norman. I think they're more accurate.
I think you must be right, because we're up in the Times, down in the Independent, and level pegging to the Telegraph. I haven't been out for the Beano yet. I don't think I could stand the confusion.
It's odd, isn't it? I mean, I wonder why opinion polls vary so much.
Well, it's the public, isn't it? If they can tell a lie to someone with a clipboard, they don't feel the day's been totally wasted. You just find a little kite to fly, something that would make things would be worse with Labour disappear into the blue.
An angle, you mean?
Yes, just a few degrees, Jean. Yes, little Pythagoras would come in very handy. Don't have an angle, do you?
No, I'm all straight lines at the moment, I'm afraid, Norman.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Jean.
Oh, to change the subject, I didn't tell you, did I? I was talking to Richard Monckton. Have you heard the latest? He not only wants to bring back the birch...
Well, he always did. He's a one-man gardening centre.
He now wants to introduce compulsory community service for the unemployed and everyone under 20.
Really? Said that to you, did he?
Yeah, in so many words.
Well, there's interesting. Oh, I quite agree with you, Tony. The lobby system is being completely abused. It's rumour without responsibility, that's what it is.
Oh, the trouble is, though, Norman, MPs know that I'm against the lobby system, so they feel they can't trust me with the confidence.
And can we, Tony? Trust you with the confidence?
Why, have you got one?
Might have.
What, something interesting?
Could be.
Can you tell me?
Might do.
What terms?
Lobby terms.
Ah, come on, Norman, give us a chance.
Sorry, Tony. I mean, this is a hot potato, this, with a chili bean filling. I mean, I'd love to put my name to it, but I'm not trying to protect myself. I got to think of my sources and the kiddies.
Yeah, all right, Norman, lobby terms.
All right, then, Tony. Nod's as good as. I hear there's moves in sections of the Tory party. Right-wing elements, you know.
Right-wing elements, yeah, right.
Who are seriously lobbying to introduce compulsory community service. Full-time for the unemployed, 4 days a month for the under-20s. Cheapo labour.
Ah, come on, Norman, you're joking. They'd never do that.
Someone said they'd never get rid of the poll tax.
But how? I mean, surely they don't think people will... This could be a bombshell, Norman.
I don't know that. You press blokes are the explosive experts. You're the ones to deal with this.
Yeah, right. I don't think they'll run this, though, without any paperwork, but I could get a line in the diary through.
Well, it's entirely up to you, Tony, obviously. And don't feel pressured in any way. I'm not one to try and influence the press. I just thought you'd like to know us all.
Yeah, thanks, Norman. But excuse me, I've got a couple of calls to make.
Yes, right, Tony. See you.
Hello, Norman. What are you looking so pleased with yourself for?
Oh, Jean, you know that wonderful feeling of satisfaction when there's not a breath of wind about, but you manage to get your kite in the air. As they say in the kite shop, flying tonight.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, no. It's a smear, this, isn't it? A total smear. A flock of seagulls couldn't have done a more thorough job.
I'm afraid I really don't see that, Mr. Monckton.
Well, of course it is. Right-wing elements in the Tory party are bringing pressure to introduce compulsory community service. Well, everyone knows who right-wing elements are. It's me. I'm right-wing elements. I've always been right-wing elements ever since I was knee-high to a ballot box.
I'm sure that nobody outside the House makes that association.
I'm not concerned with the great unwashed. This will ruin my chances of ever getting into any cabinet. I shall spend the rest of my political life in the sideboard.
But it's true, though, isn't it? It is an accurate reflection of your feelings.
It doesn't matter whether it is true or not. That is entirely beside the point. Just because something's true doesn't entitle you to print it. Besides, I never confided in you. Where do you get this stuff from?
I can't reveal my sources, Mr. Monckton. It was given to me on lobby terms.
Then the lobby system is being abused.
Oh, can I quote you on that?
No, you may not. It seems to me that all you journalists want to do is quote other people. Don't you ever have a single original idea of your own? Well, I shall be on to your editor to demand a full retraction.
That is your privilege, Mr. Monckton.
It is more than my privilege. It is my right. I'd just like to know who the hell you talk to, that's all.
If you'll excuse me, Mr. Monckton.
Jean Price.
Well, I can't see any apology.
There, beside the ad for medical support. Talk about equal prominence and the right to reply, eh? There you go.
Oh, yes. The article in last Tuesday's edition, which alleged that Mr. Ken Munster, the West Country MP, had close associations with terrorist organisations, was, we now accept, without foundation. We apologise unreservedly to Mr. Munster, to his family, and his long-time live-in companion, Rupert. Who's Rupert?
Rupert is my dog, and he's not happy about the implications.
We regret any distress this may have caused to Mr. Munster and apologise unreservedly. Well, you got what you wanted.
Yeah, the only trouble is the apology's worse than the original slander. My name isn't Mud anymore, it's excrement now, isn't it?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to get a lawyer and sue.
Or do you want to talk to my husband? Get him to represent you.
No thanks, Jean, I'll get a professional.
You'd better not say that in front of witnesses.
I imparted to you my confidence, and my confidence was betrayed.
It was nothing of the sort, Richard. I don't go talking to the press about private conversations. I'd hardly expect our pairing arrangement to last on that basis, would I?
Well, I can't see anyone on my side of the house betraying a confidence in order to discredit me.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure. Don't forget, it's only your opponents in the opposite party. Your enemies are in your own. Anyway, it's true, isn't it? You do want compulsory community service.
Well, maybe it is true, but that is beside the point. Everyone keeps banging on about the truth as if it excused any sort of bad behaviour. Well, politics is not about truth. Politics is about getting things done.
Well, I did not betray your confidence to any journalist, and I did not discuss our private conversation with anyone.
Then I shall take your word for that.
Apart from Norman. I spoke to you in confidence, Norman,
But how was I to know it was on lobby terms?
because I talked to you in the lobby.
No, it was in the tea room. See, I thought it was tea room terms. Hot and sweet.
Teaspoon terms, you mean, the way you've been stirring things up.
I spoke to that journalist in confidence, Jean. Now, if he's gone and breached it, it's hardly my fault, is it?
Well, he ought to be ashamed of himself.
Journalists can't be ashamed of themselves. They haven't got the sensitivity.
So it was nothing to do with you, Norman.
Well, if it was inadvertent. And if news of this unpleasant policy has lost a few 100,000 votes for the Tories, well, I'm very sorry, but it's nothing to do with me.
So you haven't seen today's newspapers, then? On news that right-wing elements were lobbying for compulsory community service, the Tories surged ahead by 8 points in the opinion polls. You see, that's the trouble when you fly kites, Norman. What happens is the wind comes and takes them right out of your hands.
Oh, dear.
Of course, I masterminded the whole thing, actually, Freddie.
Oh, did you, Richard? Oh, cheers.
Yes, a leak here, a morsel there. It all whets the journalistic appetite.
Yes, eat anything, some of them. The only thing is...
Of course, I knew it was a vote winner. It looked like a vote loser. But I'm in tune, you see, with popular feeling. I've got my finger on the pulse of the nation, Freddie, the common touch.
Yes, only thing is, Richard, as you planned the whole thing so carefully to get all this publicity into Monday's paper...
Yes?
Why have you retracted it in today's?
Why have I what? And I shall be on to the Commons Privileges Committee about this.
I think that's a bit unnecessary, Mr. Monkton.
Right-wing elements deny they were behind community service moves. That is totally untrue. Right-wing elements were behind it all along.
Yes, Mr. Monkton, I do realise that.
Oh, you realise that, do you? So you admit that you published this denial knowing perfectly well it was completely untrue?
But it was your denial. Because when I published the original story, you denied that was true as well.
Maybe so, but you still should have checked your facts.
But I checked them with you.
That is hardly the point. You have deliberately misled the nation. You knew perfectly well there was no truth in my denial, yet fully aware of that, you chose to go ahead and publish it. In other words, you deliberately lied.
But you were onto my editor, Mr. Monkton.
I see. So one phone call and that's it? The integrity of the press collapses? Sometimes I think you journalists will write anything for a few bob. You don't care whose career you ruin, just so long as you get your story.
But you demanded the retraction, Mr. Monkton. You said you'd sue if you didn't get it. It's only because it's done you a bit of good in the opinion polls that you've changed your mind. If those polls had gone against you, you'd have wanted to keep the retraction in.
You journalists are just so cynical, aren't you? You see the worst in everyone. I mean, the way you go around portraying sincere, well-meaning politicians as conniving, lying hypocrites. Well, you can't get away with this sort of thing here, you know. Not in this place. This is the House of Commons. The truth means something here.
It's in.
What's that?
Your new apology.
Oh, it's in. Oh, I didn't think it was going to be until the weekend. Do I get equal prominence?
You get equal prominence with embarrassing itching, if that's what you asked for.
All right, go on, read it out. Let's see if it's as agreed.
You agreed on this. Apology.
Apology.
The proprietors fully withdraw all allegations which have appeared in this paper of late concerning the activities of Mr.
Kenneth Miller.
Kevin Miller,
Kevin Miller.
the Labour MP. A sum of damages has been agreed upon and will be paid to Mr. Miller's favourite charity,
Cancer Research.
the Institute for Study of Sexually Transmitted Diseases. Well, there's your apology, Ken. So now what are you going to do?
Oh, I'll leave it at that. I think you could say I won that one.
You would you?
Well, for a newspaper, that's almost accurate.
Hello, Tony.
Oh, hello, Jean.
Busy?
No, not really.
Oh, good. I was thinking about this lobby system business. Well, I was maybe a bit offhand before, so I just wondered if you want an interview.
I'd save it for next week, actually, Jean. Talk to the new bloke. I won't be here. I'm being replaced.
Replaced? Why?
There's been complaints about me, my style of doing things, apparently. I seem to have got a few people's backs up. Anyway, my editor feels I don't really fit in here, and he's putting me back on the gardening column.
Oh, well, I'm sorry it didn't work out.
Yeah, me too. Well, more than a bit sorry. I'm pretty angry, as a matter of fact.
Oh?
Yeah, you politicians, you do what you want, you say what you like, you ruin people's lives and careers, and you don't even know what you've done, do you? You can't even see it. You twist the truth, manipulate the media, and you're so busy protesting your own innocence, you don't even know who you've trampled on, and you don't even care.
Well, I beg your pardon, Tony, but these are not the sort of accusations you can lay at my door.
No, I'm sorry, Gina. I mean, there are politicians of quality, but some of them, what I call tabloid politicians, I mean, it's anything for a vote with them, isn't it? I'm telling you this, Jean, if a journalist carried on like that, he'd never get away with it. Quite honestly, it's a scandal.
I do feel bad about it, though. The poor man's losing his job.
Why should you? You weren't responsible. It wasn't your fault.
Well, I feel I contributed somehow. I mean, I know you get wary about journalists, but he did seem a genuine sort of bloke, really.
Well, they all do. That's their stock in trade, isn't it? Plausibility. Oh, journalists, estate agents, Hannibal the cannibal, they're all the same type.
Some of them must have integrity.
Integrity? A journalist with integrity is like a fish with paws. They're still waiting for it to be invented.
Well, I'd like to agree with you, but I just feel that this time we did the man an injustice. And to get shunted back to the gardening column.
Gardening column, is that what he used to write?
Years ago, yes, he was green gingers.
You mean fingers?
There were a lot of misprints.
Green fingers? Ah, that Tony Calder. Well, I wouldn't trust him farther than I could plant him. He killed my strawberries, you know.
Did he now?
Yeah. I read his column, followed his advice, put them out exactly when he said, and the frost killed the lot.
Really? I had no idea he'd done that.
Yeah, that's journalists for you. They kill your strawberries. You try and get an apology out of them.
Yeah. Yes, you're right, Jeff. They're all liars.